All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Jared White. I'm the Director of Communications with the Florida Youth Soccer Association. We're going to get started here in just about a minute or two. We're expecting a few more people to kind of trickle in. Just to let you know, this session is being recorded for YouTube and the FYSA website. At this time, there are no webcam features to share your video with for questions or other comments, but we do have an actual chat window available. So if you have any questions, you should see a hand feature, or just feel free to type it into the chat. We do have the microphone feature, so if you are available via your webcam mic or telephone phone call, members of our staff will be able to address those questions, or feel free to speak freely towards the end of this presentation. Just to give you a small rundown, we will be talking about communication methods with the Florida Youth Soccer Association, and to end it, we will have the executive director, who is currently next to me here on the next panel, Joel Jurgen. He will give you a brief update as to what FYSA's response is to the ongoing pandemic and any additional information we can provide to the association as well. So we'll get started in about a minute, so just bear with us, and we'll get back to you here in just a moment. Thank you.
Can you hear me? I can't hear you guys.
Yes, no, we haven't started
I
yet.
can hear you. Okay.
Just in case, everyone, this is Mike Flood. He is currently the VP of Administration and Communication for the Florida Youth Soccer Association. So he'll be able to answer maybe some miscellaneous questions that you have towards the end, but feel free to reserve those comments towards the conclusion of the actual presentation. So Mike, that's a good chime in. So I think we'll go ahead and get started from there.
Yeah. Sorry about that. It's a little bit of a problem.
You're good, my friend. Not a problem. Okay, just to verify, Mike, Joel, you can see my screen, correct?
Yes.
All right. So tonight we want to thank you guys for joining us. This is a communications update and kind of give you an idea of all of the tools we use to reach you guys on a personal level, whether that be email or the website. So we will follow up. As earlier introductions, I'm Jared White, here with Executive Director Joel Dragan and VP of Admin Mike Flood. So tonight, our discussion is going to come down to 4 topics. What are we doing in regards to communications? Basically, the current state of our process and how we are helping our members, and what we can even do to improve that process and make it more streamlined for our leagues and clubs. We will talk about the tools. So those would be the highlights of the websites and various applications that we use to kind of help us out in determining the best course of action to help you guys. And we're going to take a tour. We're going to find some information, common questions that we've received, or that I have received periodically throughout the last few months since the new website has been launched. I'll show you guys the social media accounts that we use, and some other applications that can maybe help your club, or maybe some different ideas, or maybe tools that we can improve upon to reach you, and maybe trickle that down so you can reach your parents and players on a local level from the state perspective. And finally, as I mentioned previously, we will have the COVID-19 update as well from Joel Dragan. So basically, the communication process that we've been using for the last several years is going to be all about telling our story. This component is very important, and it has been something that we've actually been working on for multiple years now. It's a story culminating from even before when I started back in 2015 with the association, and it's an ongoing thing that many board members and staff members have been working on over the last 4 to 5 years. And I'd like to give you guys some of those highlights of the timeline in regards to how it's all taken place. So during 2017, there was an ongoing communication with the then VP of Administration and Communication at the time on the board. We realized that with our ongoing communications that we've had with the clubs and leagues, that there was a problem with our communications approach. And commonly, a word that gets used a lot recently or within the last few years is the transparency as well. I am a strong advocate of transparency. I believe that we can do more. I believe that we've done more over the last few 2 to 3 years, and we obviously can be sharing that information more on a local level and even from a state perspective on information that we get all the way from our national partners at USU Soccer and the Federation to improve your guys' reaction and communication to your own members on a local level. 2018 was kind of our first start into that forum and how we can improve the actual contacting for the clubs. So the VP of admin at the time and myself held a communications forum at the 2018 AGM in Orlando, where we addressed basic highlights, concerns, items that we could improve upon, and that started to formulate an actual ongoing plan as we put forth, which was a 3 to 4 year plan, which we're currently in the midst of it on our two-year execution as of right now. So that was information that I was able to compile from meeting with various coaches, admin staff from clubs and leagues. One of the joys that I've had is actually being able to be a site director at some of the President's Cup and State Cup competitions around the state. And that opens up a flood of opportunities for me to hear on a local level on what is working for you guys and what isn't working. And also to get basic feedback on what our partners and maybe vendors can do to better improve our communication and maybe offsetting some of those actual marketing and partnership goals to reach you guys as well. In 2019, we worked very extensively with a group out of Tennessee called The Collective. This was a major focus for the association. It was a process that allowed both the board and the staff to come together and address key problems and items that we needed to improve upon. The biggest item that I've heard leading up to that 2019 date was that the website needed a fix. So we went to our partners at American Eagle, who are actually the website providers for USU Soccer and about 31 other state associations across the US. And they gave us an answer, which is the current template that actually launched in October of this past year. So we spent anywhere between 8 to 9 months building the website from scratch, getting fresh and updated data, materials that we could share with you guys, and improving upon what the old site was. So, and we'll be sure to highlight some of those features coming up, and I can even give you guys a glimpse as to what we will be doing during the 2020-2021 season as well. So now entering the 2020 season for transparency, we have continued multiple avenues. We've opened up town halls recently. The pandemic has actually been very beneficial for us in regards to getting out more of a virtual communication to you guys on what we can do, what's working, how we can streamline those efforts to make the process even better. So town halls have been very helpful. Live streaming board meetings and getting staff input, communications from the leagues and clubs has been outstanding for the last 6 to 8 months, because we've been able to hear from you guys on what really matters. And I'd like to think from everything that we have been working on that it's been very helpful and letting you guys realize that we are here. FYSA has come a long road to making that better, and I will be the first to admit we still have more to do, and we absolutely are doing that with people in charge on the board. We've seen a lot of great improvement, feedback, and ideas from our new executive director with Joel Dragan, and that gives us, looking towards 2021 and further, can we make the website better? Absolutely. What can we do to improve the process? So, are there features within Got Soccer that we can use that will make things a lot better? Could we possibly even open it up to maybe a forum to even have guest speakers from clubs? Let's get more on a local level, and a very strong idea is to also get a one-on-one time between the state and the club. We started that process back in 2019, and we obviously want to revisit it every year. We want to meet with everyone from regions A to D and execute a plan that's going to be great for you guys and also help us as well. But that also comes back to the story component. We want to hear your story. If we don't know about a player that may have received a college scholarship or has exceeded at some great opportunities, we cannot share that. And to be perfectly honest, we want to share that with the rest of the US. We want to make Florida #1 in what we do. So please, if you have any communications with that, or if you'd like to even get on a phone call with me, I've been with the association for 5 years, and it's been an ongoing pleasure in trying to make this even better ongoing year. So transparency obviously is my forte. If you have any questions on that and what we can do, myself or Joel or even Mike Flood can address those, and we will be happy to get that on board. So out of the 2019 ongoing session that we had with the collective, we realized that there was, that the association needed to have a purpose. We needed to have fresh perspective on what really matters to us as not only a board and staff, but what can be beneficial to you guys as well. So a lot of this information has been posted on the website, but some of our members have not been fully aware that we've adapted a new mission and vision and values. And these are the 3 main components that we try to make everything about our projects or correspondence to you guys try to entail. The mission being itself, that was a process that we spent nearly 6 to 7 weeks on just to get one singular idea. And constantly the feedback that we got from our ongoing correspondence and sessions was being united. We are all in this together. From Pensacola down to Florida Keys, we have to do this united. And if we do so, we're able to lead. We can innovate and inspire new passion and lifelong ideas for the game. The vision itself is to be a trusted voice. I will admit, over the last several years, I have seen the complaints, I have seen the negativity, and the vision itself is to address that need. We are here for you guys. We are creating partnerships. We're trying to entail new programs that are going to be good at developing the youth for everyone on the recreational and competitive side. That's why we have key figures such as Mark Godwin in the recreational department. We brought him on about 2 years ago, and we've seen an increase in recreation activities just from his leadership. And with the ongoing feedback that we've received from Mike Strickler and his coaching department too, we've actually seen a very steady increase in the number of coaching licenses and courses that we've presented throughout the state of Florida too. And the last item is the values. We value the integrity. We want to be a trusted voice for soccer in Florida. We respect the family. We want to be able to have the opportunity to give you guys to learn everything about us. But along with all of this new missions and items comes a fresh new coat of paint. As you guys have probably seen over the last few days, we've got a brand new logo for the FYSA website to help us move forward with these ideas. And I go back to the story, and our new logo is exactly that. Just to reiterate, if you have not actually read the formal press release on the FYSA website, the story of our shield and this new endeavor was absolutely free. It did not cost the membership a dime. We were working with an actual marketing agreement that came from the USU Soccer and SME branding company that made the official USU Soccer revisions about 18 months ago on their level. And this shield and design actually comes from nearly 8 to 10 months of work from our side in trying to encompass what the feel and actual need is to encompass all of that with the state of Florida and our new mission and values. So as you guys can see on the screen, the shield, it represents our leadership and guidance as an organization dedicated to youth sports. The ball itself is the center of our world. We're here for the player. We're here to improve the experience and ultimately to have fun. That was some of the concepts that we included in this design as well. We have the beach featured at the very bottom there. As you can see, the beach is fun. We figured let's incorporate something that stands out not only for us, but for the members as well. excuse me, sorry about that. And then we have the strong Florida Youth Soccer Association bold. We want it front and center. This is going to be a phased approach. So you're not going to see this immediately on new tents when we have competitions coming up. You're not going to see it on new polos, such as the one I'm currently wearing as of right now. This is going to be phased, so it's going to be slowly starting out on the website. We'll be updating several social media programs, so that way you'll be able to share that. Within the next week to 2 weeks, we will be sharing these actual digital files on the website via a marketing packet that the entire membership will be able to go to our website and download for free. So you guys can update your own materials on a local level, get this updated on your new site, share it with your members, anything of that nature. And we'll be sure to send out that official communication on when the actual process and everything is completed for the updating. So I talk about the last 4 to 5 years. Our actual updates can be seen in the following. The publications, we've had better articles and content from newsletters and e-magazines. If you're not familiar with our newsletter, we currently have the header newsletter that's actually sent out once a month. That includes information from each region, ODP updates. We try and throw in some information from some of our sponsors, such as Publix. One of the most common things that they like to do for us is sub-September, and September is usually the month for soccer. So each dollar that we have given to that actual initiation from Publix actually trickles right back to us at the state level, and then we were able to spread that to the association through different programs such as the Bucks program and maybe a few of the recreational side as well. Moving forward, we also have the timely updates. I believe that we're getting information out much faster than we did previously. We realized that there has to be a way for you guys to process everything that we're doing on a national, local, and state level. So we are trying to make sure that whenever we have updated info, you guys have it the same day that we do. And a lot of that has been very pressing, especially with the current pandemic. We've had some late night board discussions that have lasted until 10 o'clock at night. We've email blasted you guys out that info so that way you can wake up and adapt first thing in the morning as to how we were going to approach multiple items. As I mentioned or alluded to earlier, live streams and town halls, those are here to stay. The board of directors has actually made it very clear that we're going to continue all of the live streaming of meetings. They will be posted to the FYSA YouTube page for a period of up to 14 days. And not only that, but we will be sharing the ongoing minutes that have been previously on the website as well. So we'll be sure to show you that actual location and kind of give you guys a view as to what the actual YouTube page and everything looks like. Another increased item that we're doing are surveys. We realize that we may not always get it right, and surveys being sent out from our platform are a great opportunity to hear from you guys, from clubs and coaches and players, and even working with the referee association from FLSRC and Abram Douglas and his group of guys. We're going to be following up on best course of actions on multiple programs and projects in the next few months when we get 2020 and 2021 started. And probably the last major update is accessibility to digital content. Our last website, I admit, was not user-friendly by any means. You could try going to it with your phone, and I still remember you're trying to zoom in and take a look at everything just to see if it worked or not. So the new site is mobile-friendly. There are obviously some parts of the website that we could still update, things that we are currently working on in the background that's nonstop. So if you see something or would like to include it, please, I say again, feel free to contact me, and I will do what I can to help that process. So the tools that we have available, this is just a brief synopsis of all of the things that we use to communicate with you guys. About 2 years ago, or I should say 2 to 3 years ago, there was a concern in regards to the amount of communications that were coming from the association because it was coming from multiple platforms. So myself and the VP of Admin and Communication at the time decided to streamline that process. The entire GOT Soccer database has actually been implemented into IDEV Mail, which is a subsidiary program within American Eagle that USU Soccer and their sister affiliates use. That's basically, if you want an equivalent, it's constant contact. So all of that info is sent out to the members with the updates and promotional items in the newsletter. So there are different needs for each of those databases, where it's better to maybe use GOT Soccer as a communication tool for teams and players. We would prefer that item over, let's say, sending out a mass email through the IDEV system. So, and that is actually updated quarterly. I do that just to make sure that we have the updated info and email contacts from all of the clubs and local leagues to make sure that you guys are receiving the most up-to-date info. So if you are not receiving any of that information, please make sure that your GOT Soccer information is updated, because that is where we are streamlining all of our communications when it comes to major announcements that we have used previously, such as the COVID response and any materials that have come in the shape of refunds and other things that have come from the pandemic since it started back in March for us. The FYSA website has been a major tool. I'll give you guys kind of a brief synopsis on some of the things that we have there and things that we are also working on. GOT Soccer. So we are, there's going to be a formal announcement tomorrow. I'm just going to let you guys know, and I believe Joel might be able to kind of maybe explain this a little bit further, but you guys will also get a sneak peek at the actual information tomorrow. But GOT Soccer is implementing a full firmware update across the board for the entire US when it comes to their actual software. So I believe they're going from GOT Soccer to GOT Sport, if I'm not mistaken. And they will be implementing what they're calling GOT Soccer 2.0. This was actually revealed to a number of the state associations back in 2019 at the US Soccer Coaches event in Chicago. And from there, a number of state associations are actually going to be moving over to the platform starting this fall. So when it comes to the implementation for us, I'll be brief since there is a full-fledged webinar on it tomorrow. GOT Soccer will not be updated in Florida until the 21-22 season. So that's going to give us a full year to work with the actual information and changes. It's going to be the staff and board of directors for the Florida Youth Soccer Association are going to get a crash course in it. Excuse me, starting in November. So we're going to have lots of information to share with you guys, and they're going to detail that a lot more. If you haven't registered for that event tomorrow, I highly recommend that you take a look at it, or if you're not able to attend, be sure to check it out on YouTube after we stream that information, because GOT Soccer is going to share a lot of ideas and new processes that they're putting into place to make GOT Soccer a lot easier for all of our members. Social media, our top platforms that we use across the board are Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So we're constantly updating those. As you guys have probably seen, we're trying to make the webinars very popular. So those are some ongoing items that we have there. Publications, I talked about that briefly earlier with the header and the that Eden magazines that we have set up. We get those content. The magazines are set up, and we do that content about annually or once a year. So if you have some great stories that you want to share with us, I'd love to get the clubs on a local level to kind of highlight that, and want to actually get you guys in there so that way we're following up with even more info. Lastly, sorry, I keep jumping ahead here rather quick. The mail marketing. So this is one of our long-term partners that we've had. Mail Marketing Florida is a company out of St. Petersburg, Florida. They are able to work with a database where they can actually send hard copy mail with our clubs at an extremely great discount. This can include, let's say, upcoming tryouts, maybe a tournament that you guys want to advertise. They give a great kickback to you guys on the savings and making sure that it's everything that you want moving forward in that line of communication. If that's maybe something that you're looking to do from a hard mail perspective, reach out to me and I can give you the contact for them, and I'd be happy to help you guys with that process too. So at this time, we're gonna I'm gonna break away from the actual PowerPoint here to take a look at some of the actual tools that we're using on person. So What you see here is the FYSA website. This was a process that took myself and 2 others about 10 months to do. We spent hour upon hour rewriting content, creating new items, and some of the feedback that I've received is that it looks great, but we still can get lost on here. So I'm just gonna, for the sake of time, I'm just gonna highlight some of the most common questions that we have. If you go to the About section, this is everything that pertains to FYSA that you might need to know, who we are. That basically highlights our mission, values, and that process that we are using forward, or going forward, excuse me. The board of directors, this is the complete board of directors and items that you would need for the upcoming season, or actually the current season. We've got our full directory. We've been able to take some great videos from our current board over the last several months and let you kind of get a face to the name, so that way it's just not another highlighted name and email that you see there. And I recommend that if you haven't seen these videos, get to know our current board. And we will obviously be updating this after the general session on August 9th of this current year, so that way we can get the new board in here and show you guys who those people are and what they will be working on with the association. In regards to that, we also have meeting minutes. We have meeting minutes from in-person board meetings as far back as 2016. I would actually say if you want something further back, we do have, I believe it's all the way up until 2005, but that's usually as an informational request. And I believe in the last 5 years, I've only received one of those since I've been a part of the actual association, but we do have previous minutes available. Also, with the increased line of communication for the board, we have their minutes from their phone calls as well. So everything here is currently up to date. We'll be getting all of this ongoing info posted and making sure that that's transparent for everyone to keep an eye on moving forward. And also we have the upcoming meetings as well. So currently the next, at the time, it was the in-person meeting was scheduled for August 8th. That has been moved to virtual, so keep an eye out for that update, as the board of directors will be streaming that via YouTube as well. And we have all of the upcoming streamed phone calls where they will be meeting via Zoom or GoToMeeting to get those additional components as well. State office is also listed under here. Get to know the staff, same thing with us, the videos. A couple of these we will also get updated after the general session itself. Rules and bylaws has been a popular topic. Everything is housed here from USU Soccer to the Federation and what we're doing on a local level, or excuse me, on a state level too. So if you see something different, have questions about what we're doing, or not sure about the process of how to do it, this is where you'll want to go to. Now, when it comes to the actual club level that you guys might want to take a look at, this is everything that we have for the clubs. When we address the actual updating for the site, we wanted to make sure that you guys had everything you would need whenever you click on this. So between Got Soccer, I'm not sure if anyone has actually clicked on this, but the website is a one-stop shop. You don't actually have to go anywhere else. You can log into your club's information via the portal here on Got Soccer and be able to manage your club or team or volunteer or referee or tournament all from the convenient place of one location. So we also have important risk management information. This has been constantly updated, and my hat's off to Joel and his team for making sure that we get this updated info. We've got some great information about the hold harmless agreement for COVID listed here, goal safety, safe sport, and how that's constantly changing. We will be issuing a couple of changes to this in the next few weeks, just because we want to make sure that it's updated info going into next season. And we have some additional items here, how to look at coaching courses, everything coming up from the next few weeks or scheduled months. We also have the Learning Center itself. So if you are taking a coaching course, you can actually take it via our website. So we've tried to integrate everything that we can into one place and try to make this process as easy for you guys as possible. I will admit there are changes that we can make to this. We certainly are working on that. Parents are able to register their player. Take a look at some of the top soccer programs that are listed throughout the state. We have main point of contacts for all of our clubs. So the website is a great tool for everyone to use. And with our new logo and with our new approach to getting more transparency, you're going to see a lot more information updated in the weeks to come, especially with the start of the new season arriving. I'm going to take just a quick brief tour of our social media accounts so you guys are familiar. This is our Facebook page. Primarily, we get multiple responses from our clubs or questions via this platform. If you guys aren't familiar, there used to be a time when the Facebook pages itself were separated by region. We've actually consolidated that all into groups now. So if you're not part of these groups and not part of the ongoing discussions within the region, we highly recommend that you try and join these groups. We're multiple people are sharing ideas, platforms, and other information between coaches and volunteers and players. It's just a great resource for you guys to come together and share your stories on a local level and let everyone know what's going on for your purposes there. Here we have our Twitter account. This is constantly updating. We're sending out tweets. As you guys can see, we're showing our current webinar. Feel free to hashtag us at any time or send us a question and we'll answer anything that we can. Another popular platform is all of the information that we're using with Instagram. So this has been very great for us to share some of those challenge videos that we received during the start and course of the pandemic when it first happened. Love seeing all the great enthusiasm and work that the clubs have done to really get that info out there. It's been really awesome to see, and I would recommend that you guys keep doing it, and please share it with us. We want to share all of that content with you guys and make sure that it gets to everyone on a more national level too. And finally, what you'll see here is the FYSA YouTube page. So when it comes to streaming in our town halls, all of that information is going to be posted here. So as you can see here, we had our last night's webinars. They're already up and posted for people to take a look at. This past weekend's Region B AGM has already been shared, and we even have all of the town halls that we have discussed over the last several months all posted here. So please take a look at this. These videos aren't going anywhere. Except for some of the BOD meetings when it comes outside of that 14-day period, those will disappear. But town halls, virtual questions, all of the webinars we're doing for the AGM itself, that will stay here as a permanent place. So this has just been kind of a brief glimpse into what we do. Obviously, please share any questions, concerns, feedback with me. Whatever we can do to make this process much easier, I will do everything I can to make sure that we get that taken care of. So with that, I believe a majority of people are here to get the actual update from COVID-19. So Joel, I'm going to throw it your way, and please feel free to address any concerns coming up. So Joel, it's all yours, my friend.
Hey, thanks, Jared. And I got just a couple of general comments before we jump into COVID. But first, to go to some questions, I like to try to answer them all. Rocco is asking, guys, if you could put your title next to your name, if you could rename yourself, it sounds like that would be helpful. Dara is a big fan of our logo. I hope everybody is very, very proud of the logo. To piggyback on what Jared said, it's going to be a gradual rollout of the new logo. We're certainly not replacing the big one that we have in our building right away. So we're going to be balancing both. We call one the new logo and the other one the traditional. So you'll be seeing it for an awfully long time. We're just trying to spice it in there as much as we can in places where it's frankly cost effective. And then it looks like there's a lot of well done, Jared comments on there. So thank you very much for that, Jared. And just from a broader perspective, communication is so important to an association of like ours, particularly one of our size, 100,000 members, a state the size of Florida. Communicating is a big challenge, and I credit Jared and Mike Flood as well as VP of Admin and Communication for really thinking strategically about this. I mention this all the time. In fact, some of you probably have heard it from me before, but it's not enough to just say that we communicate with our members. It's about effectively communicating. and it's about what the message is and who it needs to be delivered to and how timely it needs to be delivered. Jared probably gets a little sick of hearing from me even from time to time about, hey, who are we going to get this to? Let's talk about timing. We try very hard not to step on messages, so we're not sending you guys out 5 different emails in one day. Rather, we're spacing it out as far as when it makes the most sense for you guys to receive, and then who needs to hear it, right? We have certain communications that just go to agents of record. We've also got communications that go to all of the different board members that we have, and then we've got big communications that we might send, like that initial COVID communication that went to every email address that we had in the database. And credit Jared, credit Mike for being very strategic about when these things go out. And if you guys have some feedback, as Jared mentioned, a lot of it is predicated on the email address that you have inputted into Got Soccer. That's usually the #1 thing. When we hear from people that say, I didn't get a communication, it's because you either have an incorrect email or you're not properly on your board of directors in Got Soccer. So we can certainly help you out with that. If there's communications that you're not getting that you should be getting, contact myself, contact Jared, contact Mike, and we'll get it corrected. So well done, Jared, on the communication. I just wanted to add a couple of notes there.
No problem. Thank you.
Yep. Moving on to an update on FYSA's response to COVID-19. I could talk for several hours about all of the different meetings that we've had. I always start this conversation off with a credit to our board of directors. I've done this for 13 or 14 years now. I've worked with hundreds of different board members, lots of different presidents, and I have to say, unequivocally, the last 4 months is the most I have ever met with a single board of directors. These guys have been willing to meet on 24 hours notice. We met on May 22nd, I remember, because it's the day coming up here that I'll talk about that Governor DeSantis made his orders regarding youth activities. But we met till probably 10 o'clock at night on a Friday. So our board has been extremely willing to listen and to adapt to a changing environment. That's the one thing that I can tell you with COVID, and I mentioned it, I think, on our first town hall, that while the information that I'm giving you today is accurate as of July 15th, honestly, it may change tomorrow. There are certain barometers, there are certain cues that we're looking at in the state of Florida within the education department that will impact our decisions. So while I may not have sweeping changes to tell all of you guys, and I'm certainly not going to go back and rehash all of the decisions that we have made. Obviously, this started with a suspension of play, and then it turned into a mandatory suspension of play. We put off the start of our events. We intended to finish State Cup, and then 6 weeks later, we canceled State Cup and processed refunds. It's a fluid situation, as fluid today as it was, I believe March 19th was the day that we did a mandatory suspension of play. So just a bit of a caveat there that this information may change again. But Jared, to the next slide, please. I just want to remind everybody of where our current position really started from. FYSA, in fact, we did an entire town hall about a phased approach to how we were going to open the state back up. And frankly, we were hamstrung a little bit. We were caught off guard. We had some conversations with the governor's office. We had some conversations with the Department of Health on what exactly information was going to be coming. But out of nowhere on May 22nd, we were sort of blindsided, if you will, by the governor's order that ended all restrictions on youth activities. There's a couple quotes here that I've mentioned before, but are sort of eye-opening. We believe it makes sense based on the data and observed experience. We're not going to be instituting a lot of rules or really any rules. I trust parents, I trust physicians, trust the coaches to do the right thing to keep people safe. It'll be the parents' decision. You know, we do talk about that some in the office. We talk about that on the board of directors as well, that the parents truly are the ones making the ultimate decision. The state of Florida, U.S. Youth Soccer, the U.S. Soccer Federation, your team, your club, they can't force anybody to go out there and participate. So it is an important note. You know, the rules thing as well speaks to his ending of really all restrictions. What the governor's done is similar to what the federal government has done, which is putting the decision making with local municipalities and local counties. And in turn, FYSA was left with the same type of decision of, what do we want to, can we stand in the way of the governor's orders? And ultimately, we decided that the decision making was also best left to those at the local level with the local municipalities. We understand our restrictions here at our limitations at FYSA. I don't believe that we have any doctors on staff. I know we don't have any on staff. I don't believe we have any on the board. We're deferring to local health departments and local municipalities to know what's best for their given region. I talked about it on the communication side, but also I'll mention it here. Florida's an incredibly large state. While we were under the mandatory lockdown prior to May 22nd, May 22nd was the order. May 25th was the first day that we could get back onto the fields. Prior to May 25th, we had people from less densely populated areas who were banging down our door asking us, why can't we get back out there? We have 2 confirmed cases in our entire county. We've got the infection rate is close to 0. And then as soon as we let things go and we left it up to the individual counties, we had people banging down our door saying, you got to think about the health of kids, that there might be people who are rushing out there. So ultimately, we've decided to leave the decision making with the local municipalities. If you can get back out there on your fields at this point, FYSA is not going to stand in your way. We are sanctioning activities right now as we speak, but it's with the big caveat that you must follow all local guidelines and health restrictions that would be going on in your area. And again, I think the biggest decision making is the size of our state and the infection rate being so different. Now, over the course of the last, I'd say 3 weeks, as the cases have been rising, we've been getting more inquiries from the membership. In fact, there's been a lot of rumors out there. I've heard it from a few people. I think some people thought that our emergency board of directors meeting last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, was going to be us putting the lid back on play and ending sanctioning of activities, which we do have the ability to do, but to date, we have not taken that step yet. As I mentioned previously, there are a few things that we're looking at out there in the community. The big one is obviously schools. That seems to be changing. Mike Flood is a school teacher on this, and as of this afternoon, he is still planning on going back to classes at the start of the year. That was a big cue, a big barometer that we're looking at. The other thing is high school sports. Again, rumors. We've heard a lot of rumors of what may be happening with high school sports, but again, we have not heard anything official just yet. Know that as we hear things that change that deal with youth players, or in that case, students, we will change our path if we have to, if the board feels that's the best thing to do. But for the most part, there hasn't been a lot of change since our May 25th order, that if you can get back on the fields, you certainly, we will allow that and we will sanction it. But I do want to make it known that there is conversation happening. Mike, to your credit, sent an email to our entire board of directors asking everybody, are we still comfortable in our current position within the last week? A lot of really good dialogue going on via email, and ultimately we came out saying that we want to keep the same position, that we are not going to step back, and I think it's mostly because of understanding our limitations as an association and knowing that there are local restrictions out there. So just know that this conversation is happening almost on a daily level, on a daily basis. So it is happening. The next thing that I'd like to talk about is, we talked about the large state. Jared, can you go to the next slide for me? While we have allowed for play to go on out there, we haven't done it without giving you guys resources. Tryouts, obviously, we know have been allowed to happen. I hear of clubs still running them right now. It just depends on your individual counties. So some have already taken place, but just know that those are good to happen under the restrictions that you have to have from your local municipality. But we have released return to play guidelines. Those have been out there for some weeks. This is really a tool for our affiliates. Anyone who's trying to get back onto their fields are asked a very similar set of questions as far as what are your guidelines going to be? What precautions are you taking? And what we tell everybody is this phased approach that FYSA has put out there. It's certainly not legal advice, but it allows for the first 2 weeks of being back on your fields for really just what I like to call social distance soccer, limiting the groups to 10 people. It's trainings and practices only, no contacts, trying to keep 6 feet away. Parents aren't allowed out there, or they have to wear masks. It's pretty tight restrictions, and we have that as a guideline, as a recommendation for the first 2 weeks that you're allowed back out there. After the first 2 weeks, you're allowed to go back to on the field normal soccer activities. That is full contact on the fields, but that's only for those participants who are on the fields at the time. There's a big difference. People who are off on the sidelines, we are asking that they continue to social distance. Coaches should be wearing masks, and that is all covered in our return to play guidelines. It's been emailed out to everybody multiple times. It's available on our website. Please look at it. It's a great tool for you as an affiliate to turn around and say, here are the guidelines that we are going to adhere to, that are recommended to us by our governing body. So that stuff is out there. I'm going to get into some more guidelines in just a second, but I do need to mention our communicable disease waiver. I cannot stress this enough, guys, and I'll be very, very transparent. This does become an insurance issue. It becomes a liability issue. For the next 2 weeks, FYSA has communicable disease liability coverage that will cover you depending on your interpretation of the policy and what lawyer you're talking to, frankly, in the case of a COVID-related lawsuit. That's only for 2 weeks. Nobody in youth soccer, at least, or probably nobody from a youth serving organization is going to be extended the same type of communicable disease coverage that they had prior to COVID. It's just not going to exist. There's going to be exclusions, and in all of the potential renewal quotes that we've seen so far, none of them have any, it has an exclusion for communicable disease liability. So that being said, we have released to you guys a communicable disease hold harmless waiver. This would cover you, what it would do is it would be a tool in helping to defend yourself should there be litigation to arise from a lawsuit involving COVID-19. That's what it will do. It should be out there for everybody. What I want to emphasize is that this is required for the fall season. Everybody needs to get this waiver signed by the player and parent ideally, but frankly, a parent signature is really the only one that matters on there. We would suggest you get it all, but yes, you can build it digitally. You can certainly put it out there for anybody to sign. There's been some questions that have come our way about that particular waiver on if it covers the club, because the waiver that we've put out there really only mentions FYSA. As an affiliate of FYSA, you're covered under that waiver since we hold the general liability policy for all of our affiliates. We turn in a list of our affiliates at when we renew our insurance. So you guys would be covered under that. However, I completely understand that some people want to see their name on it as well. We have released, I believe the Word document should be posted on our website. You can get it from us anytime. If you want to tweak it, we've had it, I guess, reviewed by everyone that we could send it to. That includes some legal counsel, that includes US Soccer, that includes US Youth Soccer, our insurance providers. They're short to give us legal advice like we would also be to you guys. That's why I can't say that this is an ironclad document that will prevent all litigation, because it won't. But this has been given a stamp of approval, an informal stamp of approval by everybody that we've gotten input from. But feel free to tweak it. I know a lot of your boards have attorneys on it. Add to it, take away from it, add your own name to it, do whatever you think would be best, but make sure that you are getting this signed. It is mandatory starting in the fall season, starting in 2 weeks. So lastly, on COVID updates, Jared, if you could hit the next slide. US Soccer has put out, I've examined dozens and dozens, if not hundreds at this point, of return to play recommendations. The US Soccer has put out the return to play recommendations. It's under their Play On initiative. It's linked on the front page of the website. They've listed phases 1, 2, and 3. They're releasing them in an incremental process. FYSA has adopted these recommendations, these guidelines. Since the governor's orders, again, we have adopted these guidelines as best practices, as recommendations. We're not in a position that we can mandate all of these, but this is some extremely, extremely comprehensive details. This is the best information that I have seen out there. It goes so far in depth, almost laughably so, talking about things like even when a ball goes out of bounds. Phase 3, I believe, is where most of the state is, with exceptions of probably the Miami area, Dade County. But the phases, I want you guys to recognize, do not necessarily reflect the phases of the US government, and they don't necessarily reflect the phases of the state of Florida. This is US Soccer's Play On phases. So depending on what your local municipality says, you might be at phase 2, which is more or less socially distanced soccer again. Phase 3 is when you're allowed to get out there and start some contact soccer. Jared, can you pull up the website real quick? It's something like 28 pages long. Phase 3 was just released. Today they did one of their webinars, and we got it up on the website immediately. Some really good stuff out there. Jared, if you go to about halfway through, maybe even further, it gets into some of the nuts and bolts. And again, these are guidelines that go a little bit beyond what we have, and this has been adopted obviously by US Soccer. They have a chief medical officer even whose job it is really to put all of this together. So we've adopted this. Please use this as a tool. It goes so in depth. Again, it's almost comical to see how in depth they go, but this is really good stuff, guys. And posted on the front page of our website, all 3 phases. We'll post the 4th one as it comes out, but just know that this is does not necessarily link up to the phases within Florida. These is our US Soccer's return to play phases. You see all over the country, everyone's got their own phased approach. Some have 8, 10 phases. I think here in the state of Florida, we have 5. It just varies. So those phases don't necessarily link up, but really, really good information. Please use that as a tool. We want to empower you guys with as much information as we possibly can that will match the guidelines or the restrictions truly that are allowed to you, that are given to you by your local municipalities. That being said, Jared, you can go back to the slide. There's just one more note I want to make, and it's as recently as this afternoon. And again, this goes to show you about the decision making, the dedication of the committee members in this case that we have. FYSA just this afternoon, brand new information. I'm not even sure if it's been released to teams yet who have been registered, has delayed the start of the FSPL and Sunshine Conference season to September 12th. We originally had some must-play weekends starting in August, some event-style weekends that were out there. But September 12th is going to be the new start for both FSPL and the Sunshine Conference. That's brand new as of this afternoon. Again, just to go into how fluid the situation is. Hopefully that'll help some of you guys. And if you haven't heard of that, it's going out maybe this evening, if not first thing tomorrow. So a bit of a sneak preview there for everybody. That being said, I'm happy to take any questions. If you're more comfortable sending them to me offline, I may be able to give you a little bit more of a my opinion kind of answer. I'm trying to give you the answers that we have from the state of Florida, from our board of directors. Trying to separate my opinion from it can be difficult at times, but again, opinions on this vary, and again, we are bound by the governor's decisions in a lot of this. So some of mine maybe we don't know. We'll get back to you, but I'm happy to take anyone who's got some questions. Do you see any of them there, Jared? I think I see a few people.
It looks like a few. We've got one that says, "Can you confirm the official date of when the waiver begins or becomes
August
active?"
1st.
August 1st.
August 1st. That'll be the start of our new insurance policy, where where our communicable disease coverage basically ends.
Okay, and then question from Deborah Ruiz, if some counties are not open at phase 3 or able to contact play, will everyone else be allowed to play? Will we be able to travel to other counties and play other games away?
Yes. We're working on a contact tracing method right now that will hopefully be helpful. I did have a note to make previously, and I apologize to that. Very briefly, we had a reporting mechanism, and I'm sorry, this takes on, as with all of COVID, it takes on a lot of different stages. So I can't answer your direct question without backing up and saying that we had a reporting mechanism that if somebody tested positive, that they need to report it to FYSA. However, there were certainly some HIPAA concerns out there, and there seems to be some conflicting information that if we're allowed to ask that, if we're allowed to mandate it, but we're working on a reporting mechanism that would be less personal. Which goes on to talk about travel and travel restrictions. Yes, you can go and travel to another team's match to play there. It's really, it's county to county. We're not going to put any restrictions on you traveling to a different county to play a game. I may have to check with the bylaws more than anything and the board on if we can get a little bit looser on some of the 15-mile restrictions when it could come to practice. In fact, I'll make a note of that to confirm with the board. Is there any other questions there, Jared?
No, unless someone wants to raise their hand. We can address you guys via the mic too. Just let us know by raising your hand. It looks like Douglas James has a question. Douglas, I'm going to unmute you now. All right, Douglas, you need to unmute yourself since it says you're self-muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I was trying to do the chat function, but this will be great too. So will the FYSA directly follow what the FHSA does or anything that we have a meeting coming up Monday? And typically on calendar already shut down football. Will you follow directly what the FHSAA does?
You were breaking up a little bit there, but I think I got the gist of it. That will we follow suit with the FHSAA? The answer is not necessarily. It's one of the cues that we're looking at. That if they do not allow, particularly soccer, in the fall season, or if they delay it, that will be. What was that?
I'm sorry, high school soccer is a winter sport.
Winter sport, yeah, but if they push it to the spring,
practices and such for clubs, it's already going on in the fall.
I'm sorry, Doug, I couldn't quite hear that, but the bigger answer is no, we're not going to necessarily 100% follow suit. It'll be an important piece of information for FYSA, is all I'll say. I'm not going to commit to 100% following what they do. They're a different organization than we are. They may have to make sweeping decisions across all sports, but we're not committed to a 100% following suit. It will be an important piece of information for us, and we'll factor it into our decision making. Am I off base there, Mike?
No, that's exactly right.
Thank you.
Well, guys, I really appreciate everybody joining. If you got any enjoyment out of my insurance conversation, I would really recommend you guys join. I believe it is next Wednesday, Jared. That is going to be the insurance and liabilities, Wednesday, July 22nd at 6 p.m. So really the exact same time we're at right now. We're going to be joined by some of our experts in the insurance field, so it won't just be me talking. There's going to be a lot of good information shared there. And as Jared mentioned, tomorrow, 6 p.m., the big announcement on Got Soccer, and there's going to be a little bit of a tutorial, a sneak peek at what it's going to be starting in fall 2021. So please continue to register. Please continue to get us your feedback. And thank you to everybody for joining.
Yes, thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.